Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely pull back the curtain and expose the hidden mechanics of how money actually operates at the highest levels. We're looking at the architecture of generative wealth. And look, this isn't about skipping your morning coffee or meticulous budgeting. We're talking about the deep, structural, foundational differences in how capital is engineered. It really is the most fundamental economic question of our time, isn't it? Think about it. Why do some people build this incredible multi-generational wealth, while others, well, they just survive? The answer isn't simply working harder. The answer lies in an entirely different financial architecture. Section 1, the illusion of income. To really understand wealth, we first have to dismantle the absolute biggest misconception out there, and that is the over-reliance on earning a paycheck. Most people spend their entire lives laser-focused on income. But income is a direct trade, right? It's your time for capital. The wealthy, though, they focus on assets. Assets are things that grow in value completely independent of your daily labor. So while the vast majority are trapped in this daily grind trying to increase their hourly rate, those building true wealth are structurally focused on acquiring things that grow without them. So what exactly is an asset in this context? We're talking about profitable businesses, we're talking about stocks and index funds, we're talking about commercial and residential real estate. True wealth relies on systems that produce continuous capital. You see, an asset doesn't just sit there on a checking account. It actually works. It keeps generating money over time, day after day, whether you're awake or fast asleep. Section 2, the engine of compounding. Now that we've got a handle on assets, we have to look at what happens when you scale them up. Because money behaves completely differently once it reaches a certain critical mass. Let's trace this timeline. When you have very little money, step 1 is simple, survival. Most of it goes directly to rent and food. Step 2 is saving whatever tiny fraction you might have left over. But the wealthy push relentlessly through to step 3, investing large amounts. And when that happens, it unlocks step 4, compounding. Small amounts of money are entirely consumed by survival, but large amounts, they fuel this exact, incredibly powerful progression. And this is the absolutely crucial point, compounding. This is the phenomenon where money itself actually starts generating more money at scale. The wealthy don't just save money to let it gather dust. They invest it to trigger a self-sustaining engine. Investments grow through businesses, markets, and ownership. At this stage, your money has effectively become your absolute hardest working employee. But there's a silent thief in the room that most people completely ignore, and that is inflation. Historically, inflation cuts the purchasing power of cash in half every 20 to 30 years. It actively hurts people who only save cash in the bank. But flip the equation. Because the wealthy hold assets rather than cash, they are protected. Their investments organically increase in value, which means their wealth grows significantly faster than inflation can ever eat it away. Section 3, leverage and access advantage. Beyond just compounding, there are specific tools and privileges that rapidly accelerate wealth creation. Access changes absolutely everything. There are really 3 pillars to this advantage: better financial knowledge, better opportunities, and better networks. It's not just what you know, it's who you know and what doors that opens. This creates an undeniable systemic advantage. We're talking about seeing a private investment well before it goes public, or understanding the tax code in a way that others simply don't. And this specific tier of access leads directly to how different classes view leverage. Most people use debt purely for consumption. They borrow for cars, for designer clothes, for a nice vacation. But the wealthy? They use debt for assets. They actively borrow to buy things that generate value. This is a radical shift in perspective. The wealthy utilize debt not to spend on liabilities, but as a highly strategic tool to acquire cash-flowing assets. Think about it. When you use a bank's money at a low interest rate to buy real estate that literally pays for its own debt, covers its expenses, and then puts profit in your pocket, you haven't just borrowed money, you've mastered leverage. Section 4, the ownership economy. And that brings us to a core truth of modern economics. The system fundamentally rewards those who hold the deeds. Modern economies do not reward labor equally, they reward ownership. If you own companies, if you own intellectual property, if you own physical assets, you are the one perfectly positioned to benefit from growth. Ownership is the exact mechanism that allows individuals to directly capture economic expansion. Simply put, when the economy grows, the owners capture the value. Section 5, the architecture of mindset. Now, you absolutely cannot build this kind of structural wealth without first building the psychological framework to support it. The mental shift required to escape the survival trap is huge. On one side, you have the standard mindset of spending, treating money like fuel that's just meant to be burned for immediate consumption. On the other side, the wealthy operate with a disciplined focus on planting seeds for long-term growth. They are playing a completely different game. It's a game that prioritizes tomorrow's enduring empire over today's fleeting luxury. And this specific timeline is exactly why that mindset is so incredibly rare. It requires immense patience. In year one, wealth grows slowly. Honestly, it feels like nothing is happening at all. But by year 10, momentum finally builds. By year 20, compounding accelerates. And by year 30, wealth grows rapidly. The longer money stays invested, the stronger the compounding becomes. Time really is the ultimate advantage, but it demands absolute psychological discipline to just leave the money alone and let the system work.
Rich people don't just earn money differently, they use money differently. Let that sink in for a second.
Because once you understand this entire system, the shift from income to assets, the engine of compounding, the strategic use of debt, and the raw power of the ownership economy, you really can't unsee it. Stop looking at money as something you just spend to survive. The architecture is out there waiting to be used. The only question left is, are you going to keep trading your time, or are you finally ready to start building your own system?
This is CorpFile. Inside the world of big brands. Subscribe to explore the real stories behind the companies that shape our world.